Hey all, I think I'm live. We will start in a second. I will check again, as usual, all the settings and we will get started. So I have some, like in terms of Go web framework project, I have some plans for today. So we will first start with a review of the where we left last time. Yeah, thanks for liking. Please also, you can always ask in chat, in the comments, if you have any questions. I will also check our live chat and answer questions. So last time, yesterday, there was quite interesting questions. If you also have this time, I will try to answer, and then I take some clips and repost it on my social account. So if you have anything interesting, please ask in the comments. I will take a look. And we will start this actual coding session in a second. Okay, and usually I also share this link because people are asking what is the project I am working on. So let me do this again. Don't save. So again, we will start in a second. I am making sure that everything is okay, is correct for the stream, for the live stream. This is the downside of doing everything yourself. You have to check and double check. So project I'm working on. I will send these links in the chat, so if people want, you can check. And right after that, I will start live coding session. You can check. CoderVlogger. Okay, ask me anything. I really enjoyed yesterday's session because we had really cool questions. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. Let me also check Twitter if everything is okay. I only posted on Twitter. Data science blogger, like your tweet. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. I think there is no questions so far. I will periodically check. And actually, I did some work on the README side. Let me just get these changes on this machine. So I will check out main. The head of version, okay, blah blah blah. Git pull version main. You see on the screen, you see repeating messages because I send this message over and over to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And this widget that I'm using, it just repeats from each stream. It shows same message from each stream. What happened? Conflict, merge conflicts, blah blah blah. I should have done with rebase. Can I do now? No, okay. Okay, what I have, README. Couldn't apply. Okay, let me see what's conflicting because I should get the most recent one. So yesterday we added, I added one more framework, Fiber. It was quite interesting. Design project, blah 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 blah. Accept incoming change. Is it? Okay, no. Accept current change. Okay. Will this work? Let me zoom in. I'm trying to correct this README file because it's a bit outdated. Because I actually check more features that I listed initially. For some of the topics I didn't even start it. For example, authentication, security, and all this I didn't even start it. But it still, I have some more topics that I didn't mention in README. So probably will first fix this part. I want to like keep this README file up to date. So I think I did this merge. Can I continue? Git rebase. Continue. Okay. Full version main. Thanks for liking stream. Again, if you have any question, please let me know. Okay, so we are up to date. So let me. So I did some changes here. Maybe I need to clean up a little. Yeah, I mentioned about live streams and all this. So this part we can skip actually. So in terms of features, actually we checked this one for 3 different frameworks so far. We have this one for 2 frameworks. We have CRUD implementation for 2 frameworks. We have paging for 3 frameworks, Iris, Echo, and Fiber yesterday. Parsing query params in a simple version. We have it for 3 different frameworks. Okay, accepting and parsing form data. I think I implemented this only for Echo, if I'm not mistaken. But still, we can continue like implementing this also for Fiber. Okay, so exposing static assets via an endpoint. This one video, when do you usually deploy your projects? Just a moment. This one is done for Echo and I think for Iris. We can check this in a second. There is a question, where do you usually deploy your projects? Usually I deploy it on DigitalOcean. I don't know if I think I also had some sessions long time ago about this DigitalOcean. I like this because it's quite simple. Yeah, and you can very easily get started, right? So this is like why I choose this. Yeah, and like I think, let me see, let me remind myself. I think I used DigitalOcean, and I had managed Kubernetes as well as database cluster. Yeah, database of, I think it was Postgres, if I'm not mistaken. So this is my usual option. I did also try AWS. I use Azure for some of my projects, Microsoft Azure, because sometimes I have dependency on Windows operating system, so Azure has it by default. And yeah, because of work-related stuff, and also like AWS is very popular, right? So I mean, you need to know AWS. It's kind of yeah, I mean, it's well accepted. I don't want to say anything incorrect. So AWS is also an option, but for my side project, it's usually DigitalOcean because it's just simple. You can get started with DigitalOcean in one day and have everything running on their services. And one of the reasons I was using this is because of this Kubernetes, managed Kubernetes option. Okay, so let me continue. In terms of, yeah, let me know if this helped. If you have any other question, let me know in comments. I will address it. By the way, I also plan to deploy this project. I don't know yet to which cloud service. Most probably I think about AWS because I also like plan to include some of the tutorials like on how you can deploy on like using different AWS services. But I also think like there was also one suggestion from I think one of the followers to use some like new and small cloud services which can deploy automatically from your Git repository. So maybe we can also try one of these. But AWS by default, and maybe also we can show like use DigitalOcean. I don't know yet. But since like for this specific project, I will have like at least 6 or 7 different applications using different frameworks. We have quite some options. We can try different cloud services. Okay, so in terms of features, so next one is building website pages with a template. We also tried this one. But we will like it. We tried it very simple use case. When you have form, you send some contextual information and then you show them. But we will need to deep dive on this topic a little bit more. MVC pattern. So this is tricky one, but this is the one that I want to a bit invest because usually if you are talking about web APIs or applications where you have a view and also like controller and also some kind of definition of your model, definition of your model. So it's sometimes it's easier to use just to stick with MVC pattern. So I want to check how we can use it in different frameworks. I saw that Iris has some kind of default like it's a built-in option for MVC. So we will try this out and also try to see how we can do the same in other frameworks, using other frameworks. You got this. Thank you. Authentication and authorization. So this is part of the other features that I was planning to do. Let me just complete this list. Authorization, security, optimization, testing, documentation. So the documentation for sure I want to include. So especially when you build APIs, you want to have documentation, right? Let's say documentation, and let's say Swagger, right? So we want to see how we can generate this from each framework. So benchmarking, load testing, I'm not sure, right? Because I mean, it's supposed to be emoji. Yeah, I see it on YouTube. I have all the stream windows open separately. I see it on YouTube, but I don't see it. It's not rendered on my widget I'm using. So thanks. It's a nice emoji. If you have any more questions, let me know. And also, if you have anything specific to what I am working on, you can also shoot. I will try to explain. So my approach is, I have some topic in my mind, but if there is any questions, I can also do some off topic. Okay, so in terms of testing, yes, for sure, we need to. I think I already have had testing. Let me see. No, building. Let me include. Then we can think about the testing, or let's say framework specific testing, if there is anything. And I will need to elaborate on this later. What I'm trying to say here is sometimes these frameworks, they provide some tooling for testing to make testing easy. So if there is any, we can try this. If there is no, probably we can skip or use a generic approach for testing. Optimization, yes, let's do optimization also here. Order we will probably change. Optimization, G compression with gzip. Some frameworks, they provide middleware for this. Some do it by default, so we will need to understand these differences. Yeah, so authorization and authentication we do have, and maybe we can also elaborate on security. And by the way, it's not for this is not topics only for this stream, but it's the topics that I want to cover for all these different frameworks. Security course, for example. So which also means that we can remove this template, and I will go and see which one I already did. So for echo, we have this. Oh, not this. Check. So I think we did also error handling for echo, parsing query params, we did this, and form data. I'm not sure about this one, we can check later. Exposing static. So I will check the rest. So let me copy paste this and do it here. And I will verify if it's correct or not. So we started Fiber, good news. So like this. So for Fiber we can actually update hello world and simple JSON. We didn't get to finalize CRUD. So this is plan for today. Paging and error handling I did already. Parsing query params. Parsing and query params, I did this also. Like you need this for paging, so maybe this should come before. And maybe I could have something different for this table. So it could have been one table with all different frameworks, right? Should I try this? Yeah, I think it will be repeating and will become really messy very soon. So let me try this a bit differently. So we don't need status, we need feature. So we can think about this later. We don't need this for now. Feature. That's going to be echo. I have this list by order. Gene, echo. Okay. So maybe I can do this from here. We will actually write some code. Sorry, I want to just fix this part first. I started doing this before stream, so I want to finish it. Gene, echo, iris, fiber, micro, Goa, and gorilla. So this is our list. And let me do this here. And actually okay, so we have this list here. So first is our feature, and then we will need to mark it. So maybe what I can do, I can make it a bit nicer. The longest one is this one. Okay, I didn't. And then we will have these options for each framework, and we can mark it with done or not. So for now, let me close this part here. And also let's do this here. Yeah, I like this much more. I think this is a much better option. So echo, iris, fiber, micro, Goa, gorilla, and then we will need to do this here. So let's choose this one by default. And actually, for the ones that I didn't get started, I can use time. Yeah, it's not a nice view, but anyway. So for Gene, Echo, Iris, Fiber, Mic, Goa, Gorilla. Yeah, okay, so even so it's not nice. Look, let's make it nice. Oops, they should have started here. And now we can copy paste. Done. So we don't need this, all these different sections. We can just put current progress and that's all. Okay. And this is links, we can leave it. Let me see how this looks like. Okay, this is much better. So we have, and now let's mark what is done and what's not. So Hello World is done for 3 different frameworks, so I can select them. So for Echo, this is done. Come on, can I copy paste? Do I have the, okay, I can copy paste actually from here. So done. For Echo, this one is also done. Paging is done. Parsing query params. Form, I am not sure. So rest, I am not sure. So for Iris, done. For Fiber, done. So this is what we will work now. We will try to finalize this one for Iris Web Framework, for Fiber Web Framework, and later I will make sure that this is also up to date. So now let's start with this part. Before, let me just submit this. Update README, and let's see how this actually is rendered by GitHub. Not bad. So, very short break. Okay, so let's continue. And now what we will do, we will continue with Fiber. In Fiber, we actually have some part of the implementation, and if I am not wrong, if I'm not mistaken, it is under different branch. So maybe what I can do, I can open this branch here, Fiber gets started, and I want to merge it back to the main branch. So maybe we can actually open pull request. Fiber get started. Okay, so we have some changes. That's okay. Let me see. Oh, we have, okay, so we have here also changes for Echo. I'm not sure I want to merge it. Assets for Echo. So it is also included Echo frameworks changes. Server. So for Echo framework, I did some refactoring few streams ago. So this all Echo. Fiber. So for Fiber we have server.co. So this is our implementation, so we will have to refactor this also. Maybe for now move this to the separate function, so we don't have to put it in func main function. So this is for iris. So it's all changes actually, not only for. So let me put this differently. First steps is echo, iris, and fiber. So what's included here? Let me just list it here. For historicity, right? So for echo we have refactoring. Then we have static assets and form input, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think this is all. So for iris, I don't remember, but I remember for fiber we have hello world and simple JSON API. And then we have list and get endpoints for entities and list and get endpoints for entities, and we have paging, query param, and finally error handling. Okay. So let me check what I have for iris. Can I filter by name? No. Can I do like this? No. Does this actually work? Oh no, okay. So this is for echo, fiber. So for iris we have static files, assets. And form, okay. Do I post form as well? Get. So this is get for form. Okay. So probably like, I mean, for now we can say for iris we have static assets. And then initial template example, or just like simple template single example. Yeah, I write this for historicity, right? It's actually just before integrating changes. So this is also something I want to try. So let's actually include this in README. I had it under this one, so logging, tracing, and blah blah blah. Let's also include additional examples, CI/CD, using GitHub Actions. Okay. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to merge the main from fiber get started. Sounds reasonable, right? Before I do so, I will again update. I don't care about commit counts and all this. I usually, like, I mean, I could also amend this. I don't care about commit history or all this. So let me just refresh. So we have the latest main, and then just merge this one. Okay, we go back. So this step is a bit outdated. I will need to work on also tutorials part for this, but for now it's quite outdated. So idea is like for each this check marks, I need to have different step. So this was initial plan. So maybe I will just stick to it. I will do so. So now we can get all these changes to our local machine. Git pull. Can I do like this? Yeah, it push. Okay, sorry. Because yeah, git pull origin main base. Okay, so now when we have this locally, let me double check state for all these frameworks, different frameworks, because like idea is now we have everything here, everything for all frameworks. So let's start with Echo. So for Echo, if you check Echo, structure is a lot different, and it's kind of close to like what you might have in real world application. It's not ideal anyhow, but it's very close. Like, I mean, it has some steps towards this. And what I mean, like, we have different structures, we serve API, if I'm not mistaken, let me check API. Yeah, we still serve everything under web application struct. So probably one more step is to have website part separately, API part separately. So this is probably next step for refactoring. So, and which means I want to include one more section, which is about project structure. So before we start any of these advanced topics, so why I like this table now? Because I need to change it once, I don't need to repeat. Anyway, so exposing static assets, we're an endpoint, building website pages and templates. So we can test all this with a very simple structure. But for MVC and authentication and all this, probably I would like to have project structure. But I will put it as a first item because probably this is something people want to see first. Project structure. Let me put it like final project structure. Because it's much easier to explain when we have one file, one command, right? And you just do what you need to do. It's much easier to explain. So that's why I will keep this simple structure as much as possible, as long as possible, and then we can refactor it all together. For Echo, I had to do it because I already like started introducing website API, so it got a bit complicated. So maybe after these steps, yeah, after these steps, it's already time to work on this. Let me check if I have what I have for Echo in terms of form handling. And maybe what I can do, I can open Echo separately. So I will be back in a second. I mean, in a few minutes. So let's continue. Yeah, I was checking what I have done so far with Echo framework. Okay, so for Echo we have we touch topics about assets and all this, but we don't have templating part. So I will have to do this at some point. So accept and parsing form data. Let me see. So we actually do bind. I remember also we did some kind of I did some kind of workaround. Let me show this for a second. So in Echo, what's interesting is, so you have to have this tags, right? So to bind your model to input, to what you receive from form and bind it to your model, to your structure. So we had to do this for Echo, but I don't have templating part for Echo. Accepting and parsing data, I will mark this as a done. So even so, we need to, let me mark it as a work in progress, because we will need to rework this and think how we can avoid changing model or structure on an external package and maybe wrap it with something internally or do some conversion. So we will need to think about this. Static assets, we are endpoint, so this part is actually done. Build a website page with templates. So this part isn't started yet, but I think this is done for Iris, or at least I remember I started this. Building websites pages with templates. As like this. Yeah, thanks Amir. Let me know if you have any question in comments in chat. So Iris framework, building website pages with templates. Let me check this. So this is for Echo. Let me open also Iris separately. Hi, hello. Yeah, for Iris I do have some templating part, but it's not enough. So I won't mark this as a done, but I will mark it started so we can finish it at some point. Building websites, static assets, we have endpoint. I think this also started, but it needs some rework. So Iris web framework. Okay, put it here. So this is how we send it to view. So this is get. So we don't do. I'm a bit confused. So this Iris, we have get, we have static files. We send also form. But I remember I did this. I did implement processing the form. This is what I remember. So let me check this branch. Okay, I don't have it. Okay. So for Iris, I also need to finish, finalize form processing. Okay. Iris expose, accept and parse form data. So this needs to be finalized. So for Fiber, we didn't even start. Okay, so this is now. This README is now up to date. It took only kind of 30 minutes, but update README for Echo, Iris, and Fiber. And now we can actually start working on Fiber implementation. One more thing that I need to do before I do any coding is to check if this is up to date. So this is already merged. Okay, so maybe let me delete this one. Echo static assets. I want to check if this branch is behind main. Okay. I want to double check if everything is okay. if I didn't miss any code. Okay, so this part also needs some reworking. So what I will do, I will actually mark this one as in progress project structure, right? Because it is because of project structure. So for echo, we will need to continue working on this one. Okay, and then I can delete this branch. So iris, yeah, so these two can go. Okay, so we are good to continue. So now what I will do, I will continue working on this one, CRUD endpoints for fiber. So this is going to, I will mark this point, so later I can maybe make a clip of this. So fiber CRUD endpoints, continue work on CRUD endpoints. So what we will do here, let me first show what we have. So in fiber folder we have server.go, and here we have so far only implementation for two endpoints. It is get endpoint, list endpoint basically, right? So where we get requests on a route for entities, and we return list of the items. Second one is get endpoint, where we get ID. We get this ID from parameters, so we have named parameters, and redirect this request to our entity repository, which is in-memory object storage. We check if there is any error, any mistakes, and then if we found this entity, we return. If we didn't find, we return error not found, entity not found, 404 basically. If there's any other error, we return this also like this. So and now I think we need to also refactor this part, because what I found yesterday, so when you do so, actually this one is ignored, so you don't get JSON. So let me do this. Let me go back and open fiber separately. By the way, if you don't, if you got confused by any of these steps, please let me know in comments. I will explain. I will focus on this confusing parts specifically. So this is the same folder, but like without any additional stuff. So here we have this single file server.go. And first thing that I will do, I will refactor this part, because when you use like this, you don't see actual error message. So, and let me demonstrate this one. And now actually I am thinking how I can demonstrate this part. So first let me open this all pages. So this is our entities, like list of all entities. If I think it's still loading. Yeah. So on 880/entities we have list of all items, paged. So we have paging. Probably we can at some point also include paging information, right? So like saying like which page is this? So let me take this note. Yeah, and so this is what we have so far. So if I do provide ID, I will get specific item. If I don't have this ID, like now I'm providing 1A, which we don't have. I will get not found. So now I need to think how I can get to this error situation. So let me see in which case get can return an error. Actually, we don't have any error case. Interesting. But I can, yeah, okay. So let me demonstrate the same, but using different part. So what I'm trying to explain here is, if you do so and then return, if you do use this JSON, right, and you provide this JSON payload and then return error, actually you don't return this text. So we saw this here. So let me actually demonstrate this here. See if I can uncomment and use this. And now let's restart. It will take some time. And if I go back, so one use case where we show error is paging, right? So wait a moment, what happened? So new error, yeah, okay, new error, and we actually, like, so what's the point here, right? So in this case we return a text, right? But we want to return JSON, like this is, like you see, like this is a point. So we say we have new error, but we also provide JSON, and it doesn't take action. Let me try also differently. Let me say, so by using so you can actually return error message as a text, if this is like what you want. But what I want is, even if it's error, I want to return JSON. So let me do like this. So yesterday, for example, I assumed that what this will do, it will take this JSON and return internal server error. I didn't check with documentation, of course. It was just it was only my assumption, which was incorrect, of course. Yeah, let me see if it started. Come on. Yeah, it is too slow. Let me close some applications. So this one I will keep. This one I will close. Fiber. I will keep only Fiber and main repository. Is it started? Yes. Okay. So now I get only internal server error, right? Without any explanation. So what happened, right? And we saw that if I do it like this, if I use this syntax, I can actually include this error message. So this is one way of doing this. But in this case, it's not a JSON. But if you want to return JSON, so what you can do, you can use this approach. So here I use 2 lines, but in first line I defined my error object, which is text response type with message error. And then I say, I want to return status code internal server error, which is 500, and payload, JSON payload with error message. And in this case, what we will see, yeah, it will still take some time, I guess, or not. Okay, so now it's done. So and in this case, we see a JSON with our text message, and everything is okay. And now let me apply the same. To GET request, because this won't work as we saw. And my approach will be very similar. I will say I have error message object here. So this is our payload object, and I still return internal server error, and that's it with a JSON payload. So this is now working example. I will still keep this part, these comments, just for the reference. And let me double check if I did everything correctly. So we have error message. I'm actually now thinking in background that if I need to return internal server error or something else, this is what I'm thinking at the moment. Because, so like, I mean, in this case it makes sense, right? We don't know what's actual error. But in this case, when we know it is a paging error, it actually doesn't make sense. We can return something else. It's like out of range. I wouldn't consider this as an internal server error. For now, I will leave it like this. But in future, what maybe we can do, we can check by error, and if it's some specific error, then we can return something different. Not internal server error, but maybe something from 400. Like request, and anyway, we can check this later. So I will do to do item, so I don't to do replace 500 error with 4xx for paging related errors. And let me commit this part. Just add fiber. Sorry, is it fiber? Yes, I'm confusing this already. So error handling for list and get endpoints. Now let's push this. So let me think now what we can do next. Just a moment. Okay, so now we have list and get. So first thing, maybe let me refactor this too, in a sense that we can actually include another file. I will use long file name, API roads entities. Let's go. It is not ideal structure, of course. As we discussed earlier, we will have a better structure later in the process. But in this one, I will put roads specifically for entities, like entities, like as a model type. So what I will do here is I will take this function fiber blah 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 and say let's put like this. So this is entities list. Can I do this? Yes. So we will need to make this somehow global, so we can use it also from here. For now, I will use very simplistic approach. which is here. I will say entity repository. Actually, I did this for echo. Let me just check. I want to use a very similar. Oh, I refactored. Okay, maybe for iris. Server.go. Okay, so I will use this approach. Yeah, name is different, so let me do this. Is it repo? Yes. So it is a type of package.entity. Yeah, we can say repository, and we say package new. This should be okay. We keep page size still. We don't need this anymore here, but we need still to do initialization. So we have some data, and now we can use it here, and we can say, so we don't need this function here. You can get entities list. Cool. So let's do the same for get method. It's going to be entities get, entities get, and we do here function name entities get, and the rest is very similar. And we can check if this actually works. And this is the reason why we need testing, so we don't have to test, check everything manually. Ideally, we could just run our tests and verify if it's everything is okay. So looks good so far. So let's now just for a second review what we have. So we have our server.go in our root directory for Fiber. We also have some dummy like implementation, repository implementation with CRUD operations like add, update, get, list, delete. And we have two functions. First for listing items, and second one for getting a single item. In case of listing, we also do paging. We will check for paging because our repository implementation doesn't return all the items. It returns them page by page. And we need to specify page size for this. So we do page check, then we forward these parameters to list method of our entity repository. We do some error check, for example, if page is out of range or not, and then return a JSON response and specify that we don't have any error. So second function is get function. In this function, we have a name it parameter. We use ID for this. Then we again forward this ID to entity ID, and keep in mind that we accept ID as a string. So in case of integer, we would have to do some conversion like type conversion. We don't need to do it here. We again check for error. In case of error, we return internal server error. If this object is empty, is a nil, we return error not found. So now let's try to implement add which is post, right? So I will put, and by the way, so we do all of this as a group. So we have a API group entities, and this entities API will get all our functions. So I now need to implement one more endpoint, which will be entities API.post. So we say slash again, so we pass it here and say handler will be entities at okay. So now we can go here. This is a file where we want to keep all API routes. So now we have entities at. We don't need ID this time. We will have to have all object. And actually for this I will need to check documentation. Let me see here. So we will need to check post. Okay, so I guess let me check examples. So what I'm looking for is how we can bind incoming data from post to our model, to our structure. So I like this list of examples, like we can actually check a lot of them. So this is what we are looking for. So we need services, application services, to do service. So I want to check this function to the app utils fiber.go. So it's in utils. So I believe this is what we need, right? So we have context and we need to parse body, right? So this is actually the only thing we need. I want to understand why parse body, and then we have validate. Why validator? And what we do in validate struct payload. And validate is this one. Okay. Okay, and let's see model. Why I'm checking this in details, because validation is something we can actually also try to implement. So let me do this. Application types. So we have, I guess this is main types, I guess. Let me see. Task, string, JSON. Okay, so this is our validation. So validate, required, minimum 3, maximum 150. Okay, so this is something actually we can use. And maybe let's mention this so I don't forget about this. I will take a note. Model validation. Actually, also in this example, I see that there is also I guess it stands for data access layer, right? So let's see, users. Oh, okay, so this is for database, right? So we have user. Did I open user? Yeah, it's for users. Let's open for to do. So we have task, we have completed or not, and we have user binding. Okay. So for now, let's try to do simple implementation, which will be, so let's define our object entity, and it's going to be package entity. Then we do context parse. and we can say entity. Is there any error here? Yes. For now I will do like this. And I will put it, I want to debug it first, but for now I will do like this. We will also need to check for ID, but okay, so entity for now. Entity, yes, that's good. What's wrong here? No new variable on the left side. Do I need a new variable on the left side? Okay, so I don't need this. Wait. Yeah, it's just an error. Oh. Okay, so error message. Actually, we can also do similar, right? So we can return this. And now I think like maybe we can make this function and reuse it. Yep. So seems to be that's all. One thing I want to check if I do any ID related stuff. Okay, I do check for ID. Okay, so we can restart, and I will open Postman because I have ready to use collection in Postman. Hey, hello, I just saw your message. Let me know if you have any question. I just saw your message, Satyam. I am trying to implement post endpoint for an example project using Go and Fiber. So while it's opening, let me see. So I will basically first check if everything is okay. In general, yes. And let's add one more entity. So I will do post request to these entities with this payload. Okay, cool. So actually it works. So let me go back and see if I get this item, and I can do this much easier by providing its ID. We know it's 10 because when we do add we get back updated object, and this seems to be working. Thank you very much, Satya. Are you also using Go or any other stack? You can also introduce yourself if you want, up to you. And for sure, if you have any question, ask me. I will try to answer. So, cool, this works. So now what I will do, I will try to do the same, but this time for update. So for this endpoint, for this request. I will put with existing ID, and we'll try to change name and description. Oh, okay, MERN stack, cool. Yeah, very cool. I mean, do you just like, are you just started, or you are already like working and with some experience? Because I'm asking because usually what I notice, like some of my followers here are just like starting newbies. What about you? Okay, so let's continue with this update one. Entities, add entities. I remember I forgot what I was using as a convention. It is update. Okay, so I will use update, and we will have to register this one here. Oh, did I change? So I don't need to change this one, but introduce another one. Actually, let me put fiber entities update. So what I will do, I will introduce another function which we will call update, and in server Go we will have to use put. So usually what I do, I use get for listing and getting single item. Yes, I just started with it. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, do like, I mean, one of the questions I was getting yesterday, like how to get started, like what to use in your case. Do you do like, I mean any example projects, how you learn this stack? As you can see, like for example, in my case, I just I put some goal, like a project for its backend API, and check documentation and try to implement. Are you using the same approach, or do you have something different for what I mean for learning new stuff? Post. Yeah, so what I was saying, for adding new item I use post request, for editing I use put. So this is a put, and we will have to change this part a little. So now we have one restriction, right? We need to check if ID, if you have ID, right? If we don't have ID, we will have to return error back. Let me see if I do it here. Fold. Yeah, yes, basically I'm trying to build clones. Yeah, makes sense. I think I also personally believe that if you want to learn any new technology, you need to practice and practice a lot. So, thanks for sharing. Let me know if you have any question related to what I do, related to my project. I will be happy to answer. So I'm checking this update function, unfold recursively. So in this function I have a check for ID. Like basically this is my database layer, right? So data access layer, what's called. So here I have check for ID. So what I need to do, I need to get this item, get this entity, parse it, and pass it back to the storage layer. If I get any error, show this error. If I don't get anything, consider that it is updated. So let me restart, and we can see if it works. So now my workflow for testing will be, first we will list, then we will check if I have this item. We don't have it yet, because every time I restart, I clean memory. I have in-memory storage, so we don't have this item yet. So first thing, I will add this item. Let's send this request. It is included, it's added. We can now verify if it's actually added. So we have this item, and now let's try to modify. So what I will do to modify, I will send this ID. I will send type. So I don't want to modify type, but I want to change name. So we add this this one here. Here we don't have it, so we will update and add 1 at the end. But first let's try validation, right? So let's say we don't have ID, we should get error, ID not provided, so this is expected. Yeah, and if we do provide, we expect that this is updated. So let me see. Yeah, so update is also done. And just review. So actually update and add is very similar, and if we actually want to do it, we can actually like combine these two, and in this function maybe we can check if it's a post, we do add, if it's put, we do update, but for simplicity I will keep them separate. And last one is delete. So now let's implement delete endpoint. In case of delete, it works very similar. Just one end. Fiber entities delete. Yeah, so delete works very similar to get. Only difference is we accept as a method delete. And yeah, I use ID. So this is example for Iris. In Iris, this is a structure how you can provide ID, but in our case it is fiber. So I will do ID. We need this function, so let me also introduce this function. Entities delete. Yeah, and what we need to do, we need to get this ID first. So first we get ID, and actually from now on it is very simple in the sense that what we will need to do, we will call delete, and our ID is expected to be string, so I will do int ID. We check for error, if I am not mistaken, let me see. So our delete, yes, our delete returns an error. Yeah. If we have any error, we show this message. If we don't have anything, I'm not sure what I was using to return. So let me check for another framework. Yeah, int deleted. So we can use the same approach. We can actually use this one here. So we will say text response entity deleted. Cool. So let's restart. And once this is done, I will actually stop the stream. I think for today I actually achieved my goals. I kind of finalized CRUD endpoints for fiber. Next time maybe we can repeat and review this code. So I am deleting first item here. So when I now get list, so first entity is not present. So this is a kind of prove that this endpoint works. Again, we are testing manually, so probably better option is to test it with some tests, add some tests, so which we will do probably in one of the feature streams. So fiber, implement, what was it? Add, update, and delete endpoints. Okay, I think that's it for today's stream. Thanks to everyone who was watching, and then for asking questions, and then being active on chat, in comments, and see you in next